Alright, what's up with it, y'all? So look, man, I'm back again with another video, right? And this story, it is crazy as hell. And these stories are getting weirder and crazier by the days. And I really do hate that these children are being, victims in these type of situations. It's just so sad and unfortunate, man. But before we get into any other details, I got to start this off the correct way by saying RIP to the two beautiful children who lost their lives. And I want to send my condolences out to the entire family and anybody else out there that had the genuine love for those children who passed away. It was a total of 4 children that were injured in this situation, but 2 did pass away and 2 did survive, and they are actually recovering right now. And I want to send them some healing energy. It was 5 children that she did have, but 1 child was not there. And I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all have already seen what's going on, and a lot of y'all haven't as well. But if you have, there's no need to let us know that. We're happy for you. But a lot of people that didn't know about it or want to hear the details from me, they are here to hear that now. So telling us that really don't matter. But anyway, let's go ahead and move forward into this whole situation. Now, I think her name is Oninda, if I'm not, pronouncing it the wrong way, but she's 31 years old and she has been on a TV show, Paternity Court, which airs on YouTube and on different, TV channels and stuff like that. But basically, she was on there before, and that's how a lot of people know who she is now. But basically, she had ultimately ended up injuring for her kids. What did they be saying on here? Pew pewing. Y'all know what I'm talking about. She did that to her kids. And when she did that, like I stated before, 2 passed away and 2 did survive. And 1 child was not there. And that child was 17 years old that wasn't there. So with her having a total of 5 children, doing this to 4 of those children, unless her mental wasn't correct. It was just all over the place. Her father did speak out and say that he did not know how did this happen or what led up to it. He was kind of confused about the whole thing, right? Okay, one thing I forgot to mention was that a lot of people said she was mentally competent to understand and know what the hell she was doing. She probably was laced or something like that, because basically she lived a lavish lifestyle. And when they went into her home, they actually found that she had 44 IDs, 44 driver's license, 15 credit cards, 2 treasury checks, 15 packages of blank checks, and 2 social security cards, and much more, right? So basically stating that just to simply say she knew what the hell she was doing, so it could be something really, really wrong with her mentally. So I just throw that out here, and I'm going to let y'all hear how she was talking and what she has to say about certain things. Here you go right here.
Now that I think about it, I really blame you mother weak ass hoes for letting these think they can play with real bitch. Y'all hoes gonna sit and wait on the needs, y'all. Y'all gonna sit and wait on everything for y'all. Y'all not gonna go get up and get it. So when they come around the real that do everything on their own, they feel like they can take your power away. Bitch, you can't take no power from a built herself. Like you can't. You can never. What you is gonna do is you gonna play yourself out of a real bitch that's gonna stay down with your ass, do whatever. Soon as you do some ass shit, now you a weird hoe. Bitch, I'm gonna be a dumb hoe, a weird hoe, a tweaking. Bitch, I'm gonna nut the fuck up when you play in my face. You gotta learn to play where it's safe at. It's not safe over here. Don't come playing in the energy that don't need for nothing. Bitch, I don't need for a penny, bitch. Like certain reasons why you shouldn't play with a real bitch. You can see the signs. What kind of hang ass you or you spend too much money on your nails and your goddamn hair and feet? You can be saving that money. Bitch, you go over there and tell that hoe how to live her life. A don't call on nigga for nothing. How the hell you gonna tell me what to do with my money? If you pay attention, you'll really listen to what these hang ass be saying. Like, just go take that job of that throne. I know who I am. If I ever waited, it's because, okay, I'm grinding. If I want to get out and pop out and look cute, I will. If I want to be I will. Can't no nigga come in my world trying to water me down. You don't need this. You need to wait. Whole time you waiting on nothing. If I was a weak asshole that would have waited, you would have still been on the floor.
In the beginning, they thought that she did that at the store. But ultimately, there is evidence pointing out that this happened before she got to the store. And when she got there, she called police and she had the police come up there and she was pumping her gas. The interaction was just weird as hell, right? They ended up getting surveillance video, seeing that it didn't happen there. They ended up taking her crazy ass to the damn precinct. And, they also did some initial investigations when they got there. They talked to her, and she just basically stated that, you know, her kids were with the devil. She had to get them before they got her and stuff like that. Now, y'all already know we talk about a lot of different things over here on my channel, but we definitely speak about entities, people being taken over by entities, and shit like that. But some people just simply be crazy as hell too, so I don't want to put that to the wayside. But ultimately, I'm just saying all that to say, like, it's just a crazy world that we living in, and spiritual warfare is a crazy thing as well too. Now, I'm pretty sure she's gonna try to, that's if something really took over her at the time and she tried to shake it off, or she was laced, or whatever the case may be. I'm pretty sure she's gonna try to use that as a defense to go ahead and try to get it back out of jail. But down here in Texas, bro, they really, stick it to your ass real tall. Like, they gonna make sure you get charged. They be trying to, play these type of crazy ass roles, but they don't be want to hear that. They gonna charge your ass. So yeah. But basically, as of now, they're saying that the children that did get shot, they are doing okay. They're in stable conditions and stuff like that. But she is held on a $14 million bond. You heard that right. $14 million. That's letting you know right there that they not playing with her ass, But I just want to say, man, if you don't want your kids, especially if you're in Texas, they got places where you can drop your kids off at. You can just easily do certain shit to not have kids if you don't want to have them. Now, I do understand when a lot of people say, I'm glad that people do turn their kids over instead of harming them. This is one of those type of situations. I said these is. Y'all know what I'm talking about, though. This is one of those type of situations where I do agree. Now, I have seen some people say that the father should have took the kids so she wouldn't have did this. Man, look, y'all got to stop projecting. That don't be everybody's situation. People do have active fathers and they just trip out sometimes. They just, go crazy, whatever the case may be. But to always try to blame it on another man, saying that they should have got their kids when she asked them to. You don't know that, bro. And it's just so crazy. People be saying this shit like they really be knowing. Some people just go crazy. Some people just get possessed. Some people, it's just so many different things that happens. You feel me? But look, I done said enough about everything else. I'm going to go ahead and let y'all watch the videos, get all of the details that y'all need, and we're going to talk about this in the comment section. If you made it to the end of this right here with me talking, I appreciate y'all, and I will holler at y'all in the comment section and on another video. All right.
Yesterday, Brazoria County deputies responded to an unthinkable, unimaginable tragedy. This event has shaken our community, and we are all feeling the loss. While this remains an active investigation, I do want to share what details with you that I can at this point. Evidence indicates that the driver of the vehicle identifies as a 31-year-old Oninda Romulus. She's the mother of the 4 children involved. All 4 children have sustained gun wounds. Sadly, a 13-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl did not survive. We are thankful to report that an 8-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl are now in stable condition. We believe that the evidence shows that this tragedy has occurred inside of the vehicle, and that Romulus, the mother of the children, is a shooter. At 4:48 a.m. yesterday, Romulus called the Brazoria County Sheriff's Office. When deputies arrived, they immediately began providing lifesaver measures to each children until medical help could arrive. The 2 surviving children were life-flighted into a Houston area hospital where they remain in stable condition. Romulus was later arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, with a total bond set at $14 million. Romulus is a current resident of the Montgomery County here in Texas, where Sheriff Wesley Doolittle is the sheriff there of Montgomery County, and he is here with us today. His office has assisted us with investigative tasks that have taken place there in Montgomery County. Our investigators along with responding agencies, continue to collect and analyze evidence in this case and in this ongoing investigation. I also want to thank the people of Brazoria County and our surrounding communities. The prayers, the messages and support shown for these children, and also for the first responders involved in this, mean more to us than what words can express. It is impossible to make sense of a senseless tragedy like this, but we will do everything we can to seek justice for these children. I will now open this up for a few questions. However, before I do want to be clear that there are still many details that cannot be released at this point, okay? So, you have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
J1 with KPRC. I was wondering if you happen to know exactly the location where the shooting took place?
Again, that is part of the ongoing investigation that we're still looking into. So,
You mentioned that she called 911. Can you explain a little bit more about that? At what point did that happen?
at what point did what happen? She called, yes, she called 911. I believe the time was what, 4:48 a.m. Is that what I said? Yep. Well, yes.
What did she say exactly when she called?
She called and our deputies responded. She called and she gave us information that we needed to come to her location. We didn't know exactly what we were responding to at the time.
We were,
I'm sorry, short classification. Can you share what investigators found at their home in Montgomery County? And that was her permanent residence there?
Yeah, that's exactly where her permanent residence was. Again, that's part of the ongoing investigation. That's where her residence was, so that's why we went to that residence.
Did she have any criminal history, or is there any?
Again, that's part of the ongoing investigation that we continue to look into, and I can assure you that we will do everything in our power to find justice for these children.
have the two surviving children been interviewed, or are there plans to interview them and get an understanding of what they saw?
Can you ask your question again?
Have the two surviving children been interviewed, or is there plans to?
Yes, they have been interviewed. They're going to continue to cooperate as well. Yeah.
Is she a parent that has sole custody of the children?
I'm not going to mention much about the custody situation. There's a lot of things that are still it's an active investigation. Okay.
Sheriff, would you have an active investigation? We understand there's not a lot that you.
There really is not.
But a lot of folks are just wondering, what went wrong here?
Right.
Is there anything that you could share with us, just as far as what went wrong here?
Like I said, at this point, this is still an ongoing. However, what is most important is that our team is working on this. We've been burning the midnight oil on this ever since this dropped, right? So I can assure you we're looking into this, and there is a lot of stuff that is not able to be released at this point. So, all right. I got one more question.
One more question. I gotta get you guys back
Are
to
you
work.
able to share what kind of weapon was recovered, or was there a weapon recovered?
I'm still, like I said, it was a weapon that she did utilize, and she did shoot. I'm not going to tell you all the calibers and all the details. I'm not. There's not time for that.
Quick question. We know what the motive. Hey folks, I'm sorry. I just had one more question up. I gotta get these guys back to work. I'll answer any additional they have.
Any indication, you said that the mother lived in Montgomery County.
Yes.
Why was she in Brazoria? Can you release that information? What brought her here?
I can again. That is part of the active and ongoing investigation that we're looking into. I apologize.
A Texas woman is accused of breaking down her own children in a horrific act of violence. Now, somehow, 2 of the 4 victims survived. They're now in recovery as their mom sits behind bars on a $14 million bond. And as the investigation into Oninda Romulus widens, stranger and stranger details are coming out about what was allegedly going on. Law enforcement in 2 Texas counties are trying to piece together what led to a mother allegedly her 4 children inside of a car. the oldest, a 13-year-old boy, and the youngest, a 3-year-old little girl. Brazoria County authorities say 31-year-old Oninda Romulus herself called 911. This was just before 5 a.m. on Saturday, October 4th, from an Oasis convenience store in Angleton. According to a criminal complaint that was later filed against Romulus, quote, affiant learned from the Brazoria County Dispatch that a black female identified as Oninda Romulus had her 4 juvenile children and was currently located at the convenience store. So this complaint goes on to explain the scene that this investigator came upon at the gas station, where a white car was parked at a gas pump with the engine running, okay? Quote, a white sheet was covering a small child's body that was lying on the ground behind the vehicle. Affian observed a second white sheet covering a body that was on the passenger side of the car between the car and the gas pump. Affian observed the body was positioned with its body hanging halfway out of the front passenger door with legs in the vehicle and the upper torso and head on the ground. It's absolutely horrific. Now, at a news conference, authorities said that while they believe that this took place inside the car, they don't know, or it's unclear where the car was when that happened. According to the investigator, the store owner arrived, let the deputy look at the surveillance footage. The investigator wrote that they were able to see a woman believed to be Romulus get out of the white car, walk around to the gas pump. It reportedly appeared like she was talking on the phone at the time, so possibly already on the phone with 911. Not entirely sure. Once she got gas, she was seen walking back to the driver's side, stops to look in the rear window before getting back into the driver's seat. Now, the first deputies on the scene, they tried to talk to Romulus, but when she started backing away from them and the car, that's when they detained her. That is when they realized that there was a male slumped over in the front passenger seat. He was later identified as 13-year-old Acario. They tried to render aid, but he was dead from gunshot wounds. And that is when they saw that there were 3 other children in the back seat, also sustaining wounds. And despite their best efforts, another child, 3-year-old Amora, was pronounced dead. The 2 others, an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, they were life-flighted to a hospital. Court documents indicate multiple guns were found with Romulus, whether they were on her person or in the car, it wasn't specified. But according to the complaint, deputies had already Mirandized Romulus, so the investigator tried to talk to her to find out what happened here, but said she, quote, wasn't making any sense. And at that point, she was taken to jail. When the investigator got back to the sheriff's office, Romulus was escorted to an interview room. They wrote in the complaint that she appeared paranoid, didn't want to sit down, kept looking out the door of the interview room. But the investigator was finally able to build enough rapport with her to ask a few questions. The complaint reads, during the interview, Affian asked Oninda Romulus why she called 911, and she stated that she couldn't talk about it. Affian then asked several more questions as to why she called 911, and she stated, instead of them doing it to me, I'm going to do it to them. Affian further asked, do what? Oninda Romulus stated, kill them all. At one point, when Romulus was being questioned, she reportedly said that she didn't call 911, she called, quote, the devil. Affian continued with the interview and asked Oninda Romulus if she had any children. She stated, Affian further asked how many children she has, and Oninda Romulus replied that she has 4 children, naming them and stating their ages. Affian asked Oninda Romulus where her children were, and she stated they were with, quote, the devil. Affian then asked what she meant by that statement, and Oninda Romulus stated they're dead. Affian asked Oninda Romulus what she meant by that statement, they're dead, and she stated, because you can't take me without me taking you. Oninda Romulus further stated that her children were dead to her. So authorities, they charged her with 2 counts of 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and she was booked on a $14 million bond. It turns out, though, that Romulus's home was in Porter, Texas, in Montgomery County, so that's more than 60 miles away from where she was arrested, and we got our hands on the search warrants that were filed by Montgomery County investigators, and I will tell you, they provide more information about her that we need to talk about. All right, so before we dive into all these details, I want to welcome on a new guest here on Sidebar, Dr. Tia-Nancy Wilson, a nationally recognized legal scholar, commentator, law degree from Howard University, doctorate from the University of Texas at Austin, knows how to break down all of these complex criminal matters. Thank you so much for taking the time, and welcome to Sidebar. We really love having you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Great to get this conversation.
Yeah, this is a tough case. I mean, the information we know so far is just chilling. It is so shocking. A scene for law enforcement to respond to. You have 4 children, grisly wounds, 2 of them already, 2 who could die if they didn't get immediate help. What is your initial reaction when looking at this, and what do you say to people? What is the number one priority when responding to a scene like this?
My number one response was, "Oh my God, the children."
Yeah.
Right. I looked at the transcript and then got to see a little bit of the video, I guess, from the scene. And I'm just thinking, like, what type of mental state must someone be in to allegedly do this to the children and then get out, drive to a gas station on the phone and start pumping gas, right? While some of the children are within the breath inch of their life. But in terms of the kind of preserving the crime scene for the police and for law enforcement, even for a defense attorney, right? The first thing you want to do here is check the car and see, is anyone alive? Right? Can we get a medical expert out here to survey this scene? How do we get this woman to begin talking if she'll talk at all? Right? Is she Mirandized? Are we going to be able to use what she's telling us, one, to preserve the crime scene for a prosecution and perhaps for a defense, but also making sure that we can get to the wounds and understand what has happened to these kids? Because clearly from the affidavit, it's not immediately clear that the children had been shot, right? Or whether they're alive or so that'd be my first couple priorities there.
Mentioned mental health. The investigator said at least twice in this affidavit that Romulus, quote, wasn't making sense, was acting paranoid. When you read something like that, what do you make of it?
Well, I mean, there's a lot more that needs to be done. So as a criminal defense attorney, my first thought is, one, is she going to be competent to stand trial in the future, right? But that determination is made at the kind of moment that we're getting ready to go to trial, not at the crime scene. But two, at that crime scene, is she just speaking gibberish? Is she acting? Does she need mental health support? Because a lot of times you will have folks that are maybe just in shock. And I can't imagine, allegedly shooting or even just being accused of shooting 4 of my children, killing 2 of them, that I would not be in shock, that I would not be saying anything, right, to an officer or to myself, to God, whoever I believe in, to my family. I'd also be interested in thinking about who she was on the phone with after she called the police. That'd be interesting to me. But in that moment, we're going to want to have her have some type of evaluation because she could be leading you down a rabbit hole, or it could just be that whatever she's saying is not helpful to the crime scene investigation or to the investigation of, are there other children, which we kind of find out later.
There are 2 things to that as I was reading it. One, the idea of allegedly shooting your own children, there's got to be something there. So first thought, I wondered, is she even on the phone with anybody, right? If you're thinking about delusion, I mean, was she even speaking to anybody? Let's put that there. But my understanding is in Texas, and I know this is an incredibly tough defense. I know that this doesn't always apply, but when you're dealing with a situation like this, I immediately looked it up. Texas has the insanity defense. And if you're talking about whether somebody appreciated the wrongfulness of their actions, and obviously we don't have all of the details yet, but is that something that may be considered by a defense attorney when you're talking about such a heinous crime like this? And it may be difficult for a jury to accept, how on earth could someone shoot children like this? There has to be something wrong.
That's right. Well, I mean, I think in a situation like this, you always consider every defense, right? Because again, just to remind our viewers, what we have right now is affidavits from the police. We have the police's side of the story. We don't have her side really yet. I always when I was teaching law, I tell my students, look, when you read an affidavit, you read a crime scene report, you read a complaint, this is the worst case scenario for the client, right? This is, if all the worst things are true, that's what we're reading right now. So as a defense attorney, of course, you're going to want to consider that insanity defense. And it's not the best defense you can get. It's not the one you want to use. It's not a get out of jail free card. Because if you use that, that does not mean you're not going to be punished. It means, right, in many cases, and Texas is a strange state. I got to look a little bit closer. I haven't been there in a minute. But it generally means across the country that you're going to be incarcerated well, held. Let's not say incarcerated, detained maybe. It's maybe a better word, until you reach sanity. Right. And then your punishment might change. So this isn't like you get an insanity defense and now you're out at your house, right, on medication or being checked up on unsupervised probation. No, you're still going to be held away from society. right? So that's something that we have to think about. But again, the insanity defense is, were they able to appreciate the wrongfulness of their act at the time? And we don't know that, right? But do they also understand that the thing that they're doing is criminal? That's another thing that we're going to think about. So she could say that, yeah, the devil made me do it. That still may not meet the standard of insanity in Texas. So that's going to be a hard defense to make. And if I'm the defense attorney on this case, I'm going to be looking at other things. Did someone else shoot these kids? Right? Was she under the influence? Was she unlawfully drugged by someone else? Is there medication
Right.
in her?
Can we talk about that real quick before we get in any further? Would it be standard protocol to test her blood for any alcohol, drugs, toxins? And if they didn't, if law enforcement didn't, is that something that a defense attorney could bring up as a potential issue later down the line?
If they did not?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's something I would bring up. I mean, generally cases like this, and in any case, particularly in Texas, where they love to test your blood for anything, they're probably going to do these tests mostly for a liability issue for the jail as well, because now you've brought this person in who's clearly acting delusional, walking in circles, talking to someone who's not there, talking to the devil, saying her kids are with the devil because she's not going to let them take her out. There's something wrong here. So you're going to have a medical evaluation, and that medical evaluation team is going to decide what tests need to be done to best treat this person. Because the other thing that you're going to be looking for if you're the jail or the sheriff in Texas is to say, wait a minute, I don't know if this person needs to be on suicide watch. I don't want this liability in my jail without having a medical team truly evaluate what's going on with her mentally, what's going on with her psychotically, what's going on with her kind of physiology, with her biology here. Is she under something? So those are evaluations we're going to want to do. But as a defense team, of course, you're going to want that information. And if they don't have it, it's great because now you can create more reasonable doubt. Sometimes it's better that they didn't do the testing.
It's a really good point. It's a really good point. Okay, so let's talk about this, Dr. Wilson. I want to get your reaction to Romulus's social media presence. Okay, so we dug into her Instagram page, and while some moms, might be sharing photos and videos of their children's milestones or these really special, cherished moments, her page has almost no posts that feature her children. Many of her photos and videos, they showcase a party lifestyle, includes her showing off stacks of cash and luxury purchases. Although, as we know, what's presented online isn't always the truth, no matter who you're talking about. We found this example, by the way, of Romulus's apparent maybe attitude toward her children. It's from a trip to Cancun that they took for spring break earlier this year. And a photo of a drink with the caption, "I had to soon as I got off the flight because these kids ain't worth a damn." Then there's a video, apparently from that same trip, that shows or seems to show Romulus escorting a group of children to an area with a pool. She speaks with them more on the way down a flight of stairs, and the caption on the video reads, "Much needed, smiling emoji with hearts. If F them kids was a person, face palm emoji."
Y'all got to go. Peace. See y'all later.
Peace, mommy.
Yeah, I'm
Have a
not.
great time.
What?
I hope you have a great time without us.
Yeah, I am gonna have a great fucking time with you guys. Bye. Karia wants to go get y'all bathing suits.
My baby suit.
Yes.
Why?
Why? Because you're gonna get in the pool. Look, you're gonna have a good time. Yes. Come on, everybody's inside.
And one of the last videos posted before this tragedy has the caption, "Mama gotta have a life too." Dr. Wilson, is this relevant for the case? Is this something that investigators, prosecutors, perhaps the defense attorneys will look at and use?
Oh, I mean, prosecutors might try to use it, right? I mean, they probably will hope that a jury has seen these images already, hope the news picks it up. But I don't think it's directly relevant to the state. I mean, if there's other information that comes out, if there's child abuse allegations, if there's allegations tied to these specific events or pictures where they're kind of like time stamped or time captured, that could be relevant. But these are out of court statements that don't seem to have anything to do with her quality as a mother. I mean, these are things that, I have a lot of friends that are single mothers, and a lot of them, they'll have their entire Instagram child free, right? This is their fantasy. Like, not that they don't love their kids, but they have a lot of stress in taking care of these kids on their own. And Instagram is about them and bigging themselves up and being able to look glamorous and just have that kind of single sexy woman moment, right? And the kind of F them kids statement is a thing that's really common, at least in people around my age, right? It's kind of just this notion that you get to be a human being too. But they can be misconstrued, or they could be really deeply held beliefs that no, I don't give an F about my children at all. I do wish they were dead. I do have resentment toward them. So, I mean, we have to be able to tie these statements to at least a pattern of events that underlie and say that this is her deeply held feeling and aren't just kind of out of court hearsay type of moments.
Right, tie it to this kind of intent to kill. I talked about the fact that Romulus's posts tended to feature these expensive items like purses, sunglasses, cash. The search warrants that were filed by Montgomery County deputies, they kind of give us insight into how she may have come by that cash. So the warrants have a black and white photo of a brick home on Spear Valley Lane in Porter, Texas. And in addition to requesting photos and videos of the inside and outside of the home to be put into evidence, the warrants, they list items that deputies wanted to get their hands on inside. That includes all electronics that can store data like DVR systems, cell phones, tablets, computers, SIM cards, hard drives, any equipment that can be used to print, copy, scan, produce, alter any paper item, any and all items containing identifying information for any purpose. And we'll get to why in just a second. But Dr. Wilson, in situations like this, where a person is accused of such horrific crimes, what are the limits on what investigators can seek with warrants? And what do you think might be going on here?
Well, yeah, I will tell you what, when I look at a murder case, I'm generally not thinking I'm going to find a mastermind criminal or fraud, right? So these are completely, generally different types of people that commit these two different crimes, unless a person that does get murdered is also involved in this kind of fraudulent scammer activity. But when you're looking to create a search warrant, you're looking to find evidence that is tied to the crime that you believe has happened, right? Couple different types of warrants you can get. You can get a warrant because you believe that a crime is afoot. You can get a warrant because you believe a crime has already happened, and that kind of evidence itself is going to be disappeared, harmed, and might perish because it could be something that's biodegradable. We don't know, right? But you have to list in that warrant the things you're hoping to find with particularity. So it tells me that when they have these lists of items that they're looking for, they've gotten some information or an inkling about these things somewhere else. Because what does that have to do with shooting 4 children? That is a strange, attenuated connection. So that tells me that officers already had an inkling that some other things were going on. So I'm wondering, what did she say in the interview? You know, what was found in the car, in her purse, on her person, on her phone, perhaps, if she was not represented by counsel and silly enough to give her phone to the police. Where did this inkling come from for the police? Because it seems to me very clearly that this woman, aside of allegedly murdering her children, allegedly, she's really a smart criminal businesswoman. If she's able to pull all this off, get all this information, have such money, I imagine what she could have done if she would have did these things the right way, got an MBA, went to school, started her own business, and be able to really provide for her kids. So I'm wondering, you know, what is behind this? How'd she get into it?
Let's expand upon that a little bit, because we should note that the search warrants, they also indicate that there was a dog that was, quote, abandoned at the residence that's now under the care of animal control. These warrants also reveal that deputies were concerned about a person that could be in this home as well, because the warrants state at the time of unit's arrival at the Spear Valley Lane location, the oldest child of Romulus, a 17-year-old, was unaccounted for, as this child was not located in the vehicle with the 4 other victims. Now, eventually, deputies, they breached the door of this home. They wanted to look inside, figure out if this 17-year-old was inside, and if so, was this person okay? No one was found. I want to talk about some of the items that were found inside that house. So the paperwork says that during an initial search, investigators found evidence of a large-scale identity fraud scheme, okay? So this is what we were talking about. Quote, I observed there to be a large amount of social security cards and other identification documents containing identifying information of numerous individuals. This includes social security cards, U.S. treasuring checks addressed to this location with different names contained on the checks. The counterfeit identification documents were in various stages of manufacture, bearing different names, states, and photographs. These items are believed to be connected to criminal activity, but outside the scope of the initial warrant for the residence. Some identification cards had photographs of Oninda Romulus with names of different individuals. These items were located in an office inside the home that also contained multiple shipping labels, phones, computers, laptops, printers, and other devices. So in total, investigators gathered up a staggering amount of potential evidence. Fox 26 Houston reports that court documents list out items which include 31 social security cards, 33 ID cards, 15 credit cards, 15 packages of blank checks. Dr. Wilson, going back to you, if all of this is true, you mentioned it before about how they might have got to it. Is this now going to be a separate case? Are they going to separate the killings versus potential financial fraud?
There will probably be the same case, just different charges, right?
Okay.
And as you know, when you have a warrant, you're supposed to list the specific things that you're looking for. And I think the word we use in criminal law, I haven't taught this part in a minute, but it's with particularity, right? You
Right.
can't just go on a fishing expedition. But the rule also is, if you go into a home and you see evidence of another crime, it doesn't have to be a home office, wherever the warrant is, and you see evidence of another crime that's in what we call plain view, it's fair game. Right. And so they went into that office, the office within this building or home or what have you, looking for this young man. And they saw all this evidence of another crime. And so that's fair game there. But yes, this is going to be part of the same case. And that's going to be difficult for an attorney because a lot of us specialize. So maybe you specialize in murder cases, but now you have this maybe, I don't know what type of fraud or how many different types of fraud is going on here. I wouldn't feel equipped, right, necessarily to take on the fraud case, but I feel more comfortable with the murder case. And of course, some people are best athletes and just say, hey, reasonable doubt's a reasonable doubt. But these are going to be the same case, probably with an assorted team of attorneys if she can afford it, or hopefully her public defender service down there has a really highly qualified team.
And that's a really good point. And I will tell you, the search warrants, they also indicate that there was a Tesla with a Georgia license plate that was parked in the driveway when the units got there. And background records show that Romulus previously lived in Georgia. Now, according to investigators, a surveillance camera from across the street apparently showed multiple people coming out of the home just after 2:30 a.m. on Saturday, October 4th, with some of the subjects being, quote, small in stature, consistent with children. They apparently got into a car next to the Tesla, drove away. The warrant requested access to the Tesla's camera system, the storage, in order to gather information about the people who might have left the home that night. The investigator providing details for the warrant noted that it can take several days, maybe even weeks, to gather this much electronic evidence. Dr. Wilson, we talk about electronic evidence all the time, how maybe in today's day and age, it can be a lot more difficult for someone to hide criminal activity or to get away with a crime. I mean, a Tesla in and of itself is almost like a computer. It's a very different kind of operating machine. It's a very different kind of how it can store information. I'm curious what we can expect when we talk about electronic evidence.
Well, I mean, Teslas are really particular. I have a Kia EV9, and I love the car because the security features are so great and there's so many cameras. I have a friend who recently, I believe, had their Tesla, someone tried to steal it, and the person was on camera because the Tesla was yet recording, right? So when these things can act as surveillance devices in and of themselves, you have a problem here. But of course, when we're trying to get subpoenas for electronic devices, with the Tesla, it might even be as hard as kind of with a cell phone. So do you need to get the subpoena to the Tesla company? Are there certain encryption ways that you can encrypt your data with your Tesla? How do you actually get into the cars? There's a lot of questions there. And oftentimes these companies don't want to give you the data, even though there might be a murderer or a serial killer or a rapist on the loose, because the way they sell themselves is, look, this is your privacy here. And they're selling the notion of privacy and convenience. So if someone like Tesla, we've seen this with Apple in the past, with the FBI, just hands over the data, just hands over their surveillance without any type of real fight, it cheapens in the eyes of a lot of consumers the experience and the product that they're buying. It feels like you can't even have, the so-called right to privacy in your own home, in your own car, what have you. And of course, we know with the vehicle, you have a reduced right to privacy as well. So I think there are a lot of issues there, not necessarily with just the legal piece of the subpoena and getting that information, but the kind of battle with the company that is looking also at their bottom line, their brand, their reputation.
I'm glad you mentioned that because we talk so much about ChatGPT and how there's what you put in there can be potentially used in a criminal case and how technology advances, and we talk about privacy. But I will mention this. There is another strange twist to this case. So while deputies at a news conference wouldn't discuss any custody issues surrounding Romulus's children, Romulus herself was featured on an episode of the TV show Paternity Court. Yeah, so according to the Daily Mail, the question of who the father of an 18-month-old child, who that father was posed in a 2013 episode. Now, it's unclear if that child was one of the victims in the case. I will say the ages do line up for it to be 13-year-old Acario. When it comes to other details from Romulus's background, Fox 26 Houston reports that the Fayette County Sheriff's Office in Georgia confirmed to them that Romulus was arrested in 2022, charged with misdemeanor DUI of drugs, failure to maintain her lane, possession of less than 1 ounce of marijuana. The outlet reports that it appears she entered a guilty plea to the DUI charge. The prosecution dropped the other 2 charges. Dr. Wilson, before I let you go, any way that could play into the case? You know, we talk about prior bad acts, prior history. Anything like that we should be considering in this investigation or this potential legal case?
Well, I would think not necessarily the marijuana possession or, driving while under the influence of weed. No offense to my friends in Atlanta, but I think you could throw a rock in Atlanta and probably hit someone driving under the influence of weed. But in terms of, that TV show is really interesting to me because it makes me wonder, is this person, is it in conjunction with the Instagram, is this someone who is looking for notoriety? Is this someone who's trying to become kind of reality TV type of person? We know those paternity case court TV shows are all about getting your name out there. A lot of it's fabricated. So I'm wondering, is she trying to create a bigger image, a larger than life image for herself? With both that and this tax issue, is this a motive? Is this why she needs to get rid of the kids potentially, so she can be by herself, be a celebrity, live her best life? I mean, that's something to look into. It's not dispositive of that. It's not evidence, but it's a theme, right? It's something to keep in the back of your head. But yeah, the marijuana, I wouldn't as much worry about that. It doesn't really have a connection to many things, besides maybe, being a single mother and trying to de-stress and making some bad decisions. But I would wonder, what is the motive here? And does this connection with Instagram and the bags and the cash and the TV shows and perhaps Atlanta itself, does that portend a kind of desire, right, to be free of these children, to have a kind of celebrity profile, to live an alternative life, right?
Yeah, and going back to the human aspect of this, let's just end on this point. It is so tragic. It is so sad because you think, what becomes of the 2 surviving children, right, who are expected to recover? Well, for now, it's not clear who's going to take custody of them when they are released from the hospital. This is according to Fox 26 Houston. A spokesperson for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, Melissa Lanford, told the outlet Child Protective Services is investigating this case, making sure that the safety and well-being of the surviving children is our first priority. Ms. Romulus has had contact with CPS on 1 other occasion. Details of that interaction are confidential, but will be included in a public child fatality report when our investigation is complete. Dr. Wilson, such a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for breaking down the legal intricacies of this complicated, sad, disturbing case, and I look forward to having you back here on Sidebar.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll just say one last thing. Toni Morrison was asked about survival, and she said, sometimes we don't survive in whole. We only survive in part. And that is my fear for these kids, the parts of them that survive. Thank you for having me. This was a great, but also very serious and sad conversation.
And that is all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow me on X or Instagram. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll see you next time.